This video is the Kayak Crew's review of the Itiwit X100 2 or 3 person inflatable kayak. If you're interested in buying an inflatable kayak like the Itiwit X100, then watch on for our long-term review, which includes how we rate the kayak in terms of build quality, stability, speed, tracking and portability, how it compares to the smaller 1 or 2 person version of the X100, and how it performs on different types of waterway when used tandem and also when used solo. The Itiwit X100 2 or 3 person kayak that this review relates to usually retails for about £500 as of the time of this review in June 2024. This version is 410 centimeters long and is coloured light blue and grey. Note that there is a smaller 1 or 2 person version of the X100 kayak, which is 365 centimeters long, is coloured yellow and grey, and that usually costs about £400. We have already done a review of that smaller version of the X100 on our product reviews playlist of our channel, which is linked below. This photo shows the comparative sizes of the two models of the Itiwit X100 kayak. Regarding on the water tests, we have used the Itiwit X100 on numerous trips, mostly in tandem mode with 2 of us paddling it, although I've also used it on my own solo on a few trips. The Itiwit X100 is similar in speed to other hybrid inflatable kayaks we have, which also have drop stitch floors but lower pressure side tubes. While it is difficult to accurately test the comparative speed of different kayaks, those of you who saw our review of the Itiwit X100 1 or 2 person kayak may recall that we had a race on about 200 meters of canal. I was paddling the Itiwit X100 1 or 2 person kayak solo, that being the yellow coloured smaller sibling of the 2 or 3 person X100. Archie was paddling a 2-taker sit on top hardshell kayak, and his 2 sons were paddling a tandem full drop stitch inflatable. Despite starting at the rear of the pack, I was able to keep up with the others for most of the race, and it was only over the last 30 meters or so that Archie's boys started to pull away a bit, but by then I was laughing too much to paddle properly anyhow. So the X100s are a bit slower than full drop stitch inflatables, but comparable to other inflatables with tubed sides. Concerning stability, the Itiwit X100 is over 1 meter wide in the middle of the kayak and has a flat hull with reasonably high side pontoons. As a result, we have found it to be a very stable kayak, and this stability is probably its greatest strength. The firm, high pressure drop stitch floor helps to make the X100 a stable platform, which is relatively easy to get into and out of when launching and landing. As you can see, we managed okay in some testing tidal races off the Pembrokeshire coast, which made us feel like we were paddling in a huge washing machine, much to the amusement of the local seals. The Itiwit stability was also well tested when paddling across this windswept and very choppy bay, also down Pembrokeshire, when we had so much spray hitting us that we felt like we were in a car wash. Tracking is the ability of a kayak to maintain a straight course. The Itiwit X100 comes with 3 quite short skegs or fins, 2 of which attach to the rear of the hull and 1 of them attaches to the front of the hull. We did not find that the Itiwit tracked as well as some of the other inflatables we have, which have more of a V-shaped hull. We subsequently bought 3 of the longer orange fins or skegs, which are supplied for the Itiwit paddle boards, but which also fit the slots on the X100 kayak. This photo shows one of the standard black fins that comes with a kayak on the left and one of the orange paddleboard fins on the right, which is also compatible with the slots on the hull of the X100 kayak. You may find that the standard shorter black fins work okay for you, but the longer orange paddleboard fins provide an option to upgrade. Regarding comfort, we have found the X100 to be comfortable even when paddling on long trips of 12 or 13 miles. The seats have inflatable bases, which is relatively unusual for kayak seats. On the yellow 1 or 2 person version of the X100 that we previously had a couple of years ago, we did not totally get on with the inflatable seat bases for a while. However, we have grown to like the inflatable seat bases after our much more prolonged use of the 2 and 3 person version of the X100 kayak. When fully inflated, they are reasonably firm, and the seat base is then about 10 centimeters deep. The advantage of this is that it does ensure that you are sat above any residual water which may have splashed onto the floor of the kayak if you are paddling in rougher conditions. Additionally, it makes it a bit easier to paddle because you are sat in a slightly higher position and hence can still comfortably paddle over the side tubes whilst maintaining a quite shallow paddle angle. The seat straps do a good job of holding the seat backs firmly in place. The high pressure drop stitch floor provides a firm and dry base to sit on. Any water water which splashes or drips off your paddles into the cockpit tends to quickly drain off and collect underneath the floor of the kayak, so you should have a very dry ride in the X100. There are no footrests with this kayak, although in tandem mode the front person may simply find themselves pushing their feet against whatever bag or items they have stashed under the front deck. The rear passenger can, to an extent, brace their feet against a bag wedged behind the base of the front passenger's seat. Concerning room and storage space, the cockpit of the kayak is quite roomy when used in tandem mode by 2 people. While it's described as a 2 or 3 person model, you would definitely struggle to fit a third adult in the cockpit and still have room for all 3 of you to paddle comfortably. It's large enough for 2 adults to paddle with a young child sat in between them though. The rear deck has bungee cords for securing items to carry on top of the deck, which is useful since it provides extra storage capacity. The front deck does not have built-in bungee cords. However, if you use your own bungee cords, then you can still tether items down onto the front deck by securing your bungees to the deck covering. There is also a reasonable amount of storage space underneath the front and rear decks for stashing dry bags or other essential items such as bottles of cider and beer. Concerning build quality, at the date of this review we'd used the Itiwit X100 for almost a year and taken it out on a large number of trips on the sea, canals, estuaries and rivers. The lower pressure side tubes do not feel as robust as the very high pressure full drop stitch inflatables we've used, such as the Sandbank style Optimal. However, we have had no punctures or other issues with the X100 and the build quality does seem to be pretty good. The 2 or 3 person model that we have used for the past year and which this review relates to seems a bit more robust than the yellow 1 or 2 person model that we had a couple of years ago and that we managed to pick up a couple of very small pinhole sized slow punctures with. Regarding using the kayak in solo mode, it can be used solo by 1 person, in which case you position the 1 seat towards the middle of the kayak. When used solo, then you have even more room in front of and behind the seat. It would seem to be most suited to solo mode if you needed a lot of extra space, such as if you were kayak camping, or maybe if you wanted to use it for kayak fishing and needed extra space for all your fishing gear. If you intend to use the kayak solo, then note that you will need quite a long paddle due to its width of over 1 meter in the midsection where you would be sitting. Regarding portability, the X100 2 or 3 person model is surprisingly light when you consider that it's quite a big kayak when on the water and is quite roomy even when used tandem by 2 people. The carry bag is well made and comfortable to carry with padded shoulder straps. There are 2 side pockets which you may be able to stash your paddles into if they break down into 4 pieces or even if they break down only into 2 pieces. The bag itself is pretty full when you put the deflated kayak hull, the drop stitch floor and the seats inside of it, and you will need to carry your pump and any other items in separate bags. The kayak has carry handles either end, so it can quite easily be carried by 2 people end to end. For instance, if you need to portage around weirs on canals or rivers, or where you have to track across a very wide beach when paddling on the coast. In conclusion, the Itiwit X100 2 or 3 person kayak is a very good value package. While the Itiwit X100 kayaks do not include some of the usual accessories like pumps and paddles that you often get with kayak packages, we prefer choosing our own paddles, and some of the paddles you get included with kayak packages are not the best quality anyhow. The Itiwit X100s are very stable on the water, comfortable to paddle and are relatively light to carry off the water considering they are tandem kayaks. Compared to some full drop stitch inflatables such as the Sandbank style Optimal, the X100 kayaks are not quite as fast, do not track as well, nor feel as robust. The Sandbank's Optimal inflates to a higher pressure of up to 12 psi, so the entire hull and decks are very firm. By way of comparison, this split screen footage shows the Sandbank style Optimal on the left with the Itiwit on the right. If you are also considering getting a full drop stitch kayak, then check out our review of the Sandbank's Optimal on our product reviews playlist. If you are looking to get an X100 kayak, then we'd suggest going for the blue and grey 2 or 3 person model. If you're looking for a kayak to use predominantly as a roomy tandem, but maybe with some more limited solo usage. This model is also big enough to be used by 2 adults with a small child sat between them. The smaller yellow and grey 1 or 2 person version of the X100 is the one that we'd suggest if you're looking for a kayak to use mostly solo on your own with some more limited tandem use, or if you simply wanted a more compact tandem kayak. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, then consider subscribing by clicking on the left below. If you want to see more of our product review videos, then click on the button for our playlist for product and gear reviews on the right below. Happy paddling from the Kayak Crew.